Hi, this is Janet Phillips with the Daily Digi, and I'm here with you today just to give you a quick tutorial on adding a little bit of realism to your layouts. Now, I've said before in many posts that shadows and other things like that I don't excel in, and I just haven't chosen to take the time to learn to do shadows really well because the little time I do have to scrap, I want to get the memory scrapped, and I'm really happy with just my quick little action shadows that I have from other people. But just because I don't spend a lot of time on things like shadows, it doesn't mean I don't want to add realism to my pages whenever possible. And so I was working on this layout and I found myself doing a technique that I do quite often, and so I thought I'd just share it with you. So this is a layout, and I was using the kit Winter Woods, which was part of the January Digi files. And this kit isn't available anymore, but the technique I'm going to show you is can be used for many layouts. It's not kit specific. And so I just wanted to show you real quick what it is that I do. And so on this layout, I was almost done. And I was looking at my page and just thinking, I felt like it needed a little bit more. And so I decided to bring in some more trees into the background. These trees were elements in the kit. And I wanted to bring in some more, but I wanted to bring them over the white paper. And so I'm just going to show you. So here's one that I brought in. And I wanted to place it above my paper but below my photo. So I can see the tree, but it doesn't cover up any of the picture. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm just going to reduce this size a little bit. It's just a little bit bigger than I want. And I'm going to put it, I don't know, right about there. Okay. And then I'm going to add another one over here. And again, it's a little bit big for my liking, so I'm going to reduce the size and scoot it over a little bit. I just wanted to add a little bit of extra to this page. And I'm going to make that even a little bit smaller. Okay, there. So now I could leave my layout like this and it would be fine, but this is a situation where I do try to add a little bit of realism. If this were a paper layout, let me zoom in for you. If this were a paper layout and I placed an element over this white paper, it wouldn't be so smooth like this because it would be going over a bump. And so what I want to do is I want to just add that little bit of realism that if I had placed this over, or even if I used this with something more like a stamp or a rub-on, how it would then kind of look if this were a real paper layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got this tree highlighted, and I could do this a number of ways. What I want to do is everywhere that this tree falls off of the white paper, I want to take and create its own layer with. So I'm just going to use my marquee tool. I could do this a number of ways, but I'm just going to use this tool because it doesn't have to be extremely precise. So you can see I'm just grabbing my marquee tool, my rectangular, and just drawing an outline that'll include any of that tree that falls off the white edge. And now I'm just going to hit Command X to cut it, and then I'm going to hit Command V to paste it back. Okay? So now I've got my tree in two pieces. So what I want to do is I want to take this extra new piece and I'm going to drop it down below the white paper. And I'm going to then take this and I'm just going to nudge it over a bit so it goes underneath. Now if I zoom in, you can see how this looks more realistic because it's actually, you can see the edge, the shadow of the white paper. Now I do need to make sure I get it lined up properly. So I'll do that. Okay. So I do that on that side, and then I'm going to come over to this tree and do the same thing. This tree you won't see it as much, which I need to make that bigger, because the shadow on the white paper is falling more on the other side, but still, I'm going to do it. So Command X, Command V, find my piece. I'm going to drop it below the white paper. I'm going to come in and I need to reline up the pieces. And you can see a little bit of a gap there, so I'm going to nudge it over one more. And I don't mind if there's a little bit of that white space there because that's how it would look a little bit if it's falling off the paper. But I think I like that a little bit better. Okay, so I got to this point in my layout and I was happy, but I just wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to kind of fade these trees in a little bit. So what I did is I took this extra little piece that's on the outside and I added a linear burn to it. Now, as I'm looking at this, if I come in closer, I've got an issue of I actually have some of the tree even extending beyond this green paper. So before I go back and change my blending modes, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly do the same thing here that I did on the other part. Now I just need to find my piece. Let's scoot it over so I can find it. Here we go. It's right there. So it was just a little bit, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it all. And I'm actually going to, I see a little bit of a piece of my paper template sticking out. So I'm just going to, with my green layer highlighted, I'm going to X those out. Bring these in. So now I've got all those lined up. So I'm going to go back to this middle piece and I'm going to change my blending mode from normal to linear burn. Now you can see that made that far too dark, but I'm going to go ahead and just take my opacity and I'm going to bring it down until it looks about right. And on this one, I'm also going to make a linear burn. I didn't have to reduce the opacity of this one because I'm on a white paper, whereas this one I'm on a green paper, and the way the blending modes work, they are affected more on a darker paper. So I like that. So that's at about a 95%. This one's only at a 56%. So now I'm going to go and click on my third one, do a linear burn, and I'm going to try this at 56 as well. I may need to even go less because it's a very dark. And I think I'm going to do it right about there. So that ended up at a 28. So then the last thing that I will do with these though, let me make sure which that's, I want to make sure I get the right pieces chosen. So this one, and this one. And I'm just going to link those layers so that if I end up wanting to move, they will all move together. Okay. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to do the same thing. So I had two different pieces. I have this piece and this piece. So this one's over the white paper and this one's under the white paper. And this one I'm going to do a linear burn. And I'm going to bring that down to about 95. And then I'm going to click on this piece and do a linear burn. And I'm going to check, I don't remember what I did this one, at 56%. So I'm going to go to this one and do the same. Okay. And this one I might reduce even a little bit more because it's over another tree. And I want it to work well there. Now I can just kind of step back and look at it a little bit more. And I find I want to reduce the opacity of this even a little bit more. Brought it down to about an 88. And then I think there's a little too much of a white gap here, so I'm just going to move this over once. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to link those the same so that if I want to move them, they'll move. And as I look closely, I do have an issue here. So, oops, I see this one needs to come back over. There we go. And then it needs to line up with this one. Oh, I see. And so now I'm playing with them just to make sure they kind of all line up. And so then that's my finished layout. And if I zoom in, you can see that. And then over here, you can see how it comes off. And so it's nothing big, and I could have done it without it, but that's just a little touch of something that I like to add to my layouts when I'm stamping or doing a rub-on or a very thin element that will go over the edge of a paper. So I hope that was helpful to you. I love blending modes and I love learning about them, and so I just encourage you to get in there and try and see how much fun they can be. Thanks for watching, and we hope we see you back at the Daily Digi.